What if everything you thought you knew about the American West was just the beginning? Beyond the postcards, beyond the popular trails, beyond the parking lots and the crowds and the same photographs taken a million times before, there lies an untamed, forgotten grandeur. Join us as we venture into the unseen heart of America's wild, where serene landscapes wait to reveal secrets only a few have ever witnessed. The American West has a public face, the one printed on calendars and splashed across Instagram feeds, the one that draws tour buses and fills campground reservations a year in advance. But that famous face hides something far more extraordinary. They have seen a fraction of it. Hidden between the highways, beyond the guidebooks, another West exists entirely, a West where glaciers larger than Switzerland's blanket unnamed peaks, where trees older than the Egyptian pyramids still grow in twisted silence, where landscapes so alien they have been mistaken for other planets, waiting in perfect stillness for those willing to seek them out. In this documentary, we will journey to wilderness areas that dwarf entire nations yet receive fewer visitors than a local shopping mall. We will walk among the oldest living things on Earth. We will cross ancient lake beds where mammoths once roamed. We will discover islands harboring species found nowhere else on this planet, hiding in plain sight just miles from millions of people. This is not the West you know. This is the unseen West, and it has been waiting for you. Imagine a national park 6 times larger than Yellowstone, larger than the entire nation of Switzerland, a park containing more glaciers than anywhere else on Earth outside the polar regions. Now imagine that almost nobody visits it. Wrangell-St. Elias National Park sprawls across 13.2 million acres of south-central Alaska. To put that in perspective, you could fit Yellowstone, Yosemite, and Switzerland inside its boundaries and still have room left over. Four of North America's mightiest mountain ranges converge here. The Wrangell, St. Elias, Chugach, and the Alaska Range collide in what geologists call the Mountain Kingdom of North America. This collision of ranges creates a vertical world where peaks rise nearly straight from sea level to heights exceeding 18,000 feet. Mount St. Elias itself reaches 18,008 feet, making it the second highest mountain in both the United States and Canada. Over 1/3 of this vast wilderness lies buried under glacial ice. The Malaspina Glacier alone is larger than the state of Rhode Island. The Hubbard Glacier stretches 75 miles, making it the longest tidewater glacier in Alaska. The Nabisna Glacier holds the title of the world's longest valley glacier. Yet while 4 million people crowd into Yellowstone each year, Wrangell-St. Elias receives barely 67,000 visitors. The reasons are simple: remoteness, difficulty, the absence of paved roads penetrating its interior. To truly experience this park requires bush plains, river crossings, and a willingness to venture far beyond any marked trail. At the heart of this wilderness, the ghost towns of McCarthy and Kennecott preserve the memory of the copper boom that briefly brought industry to these mountains. The red buildings of the Kennecott mine now stand as a National Historic Landmark, slowly weathering against a backdrop of glaciers and peaks that dwarf all human ambition. In 1979, UNESCO recognized this region alongside Canada's neighboring Kluweni National Park as a World Heritage Site. Together with Glacier Bay and Tatshenshini Alsek, they form the largest internationally protected wilderness on Earth, 24 million acres of unbroken wild. Wrangell-St. Elias guards its wilderness with scale and isolation. But in the lower 48, another range has hidden in plain sight, where glaciers rival Switzerland's, yet most Americans have never heard its name. Just 3 hours from Seattle, one of America's most spectacular mountain ranges rises in jagged splendor, yet it remains one of the least visited national parks in the entire system. The North Cascades contain more glaciers than any other park in the continental United States. Over 300 of them crown the peaks, that is more glaciers than Glacier National Park itself, which gave the glacier its name. Researchers have nicknamed this range the American Alps. The comparison is earned. Knife-edged ridges pierce the sky at impossible angles. Vertical rock faces drop thousands of feet into forested valleys. Turquoise lakes glow with the distinctive color of glacial flour. Rock ground so fine by moving ice that it remains suspended in water. Boston Glacier, the park's largest, covers nearly 3 square miles. It represents just one of these ancient rivers of ice, slowly carving the landscape that has drawn comparisons to the Matterhorn and the Eiger. Only 40,000 people visit each year. To understand why requires understanding the terrain. No roads penetrate the park's heart. The only way to experience its true wilderness is on foot or by water. The trails here climb thousands of feet through dense forest before emerging into alpine meadows where mountain goats traverse ledges that seem to defy physics. Hidden within this wilderness lies one of America's most remote communities. Stehekin can only be reached by boat, float plane, or a grueling multi-day hike. No roads connect it to the outside world. Residents live without traffic lights, without chain stores, without the constant noise of modern civilization. They have chosen isolation, and the isolation has preserved something increasingly rare. In 1956, writer Jack Kerouac spent 63 days as a fire lookout on Desolation Peak within the park. The solitude inspired 2 novels. He wrote of seeing a sea of marshmallow clouds below him, with hundreds of miles of pure snow-covered rocks and virgin lakes stretching to the horizon. That view remains largely unchanged today. The North Cascades hide their treasures in ice and stone, but thousands of miles south, Nevada guards something even older, trees that were already ancient when the pyramids were young. High on the windswept slopes of Wheeler Peak, twisted forms cling to bare rock in conditions that would kill most living things. These are the Great Basin bristlecone pines. They are the oldest living non-clonal organisms on Earth. The most famous individual, known as Methuselah, has been verified at nearly 5,000 years of age. When the ancient Egyptians were just beginning to construct the Great Pyramids of Giza, Methuselah was already 500 years old. When the English language began to evolve, this single tree had been growing for 3 millennia. Its exact location remains a closely guarded secret. Park rangers fear that publicizing it would lead to damage or destruction. Great Basin National Park occupies 77,000 acres of eastern Nevada, anchored by Wheeler Peak rising to 13,065 feet. The park spans multiple ecological zones, from desert lowlands to alpine tundra, compressed into a space less than 20 miles wide. Beneath the surface, Lehman Caves reveal another world entirely. Limestone formations include rare shield structures found almost nowhere else. These flat circular formations extend from cave walls like frozen platters, their formations still not fully understood by geologists. But perhaps nothing distinguishes Great Basin more than what appears when the sun goes down. In 2016, the International Dark Sky Association designated Great Basin an International Dark Sky Park. The designation recognized something increasingly endangered: true darkness. The Milky Way blazes across the Nevada sky here with an intensity most Americans have never witnessed. Stars emerge not by the dozens but by the thousands, revealing the galaxy in which we live. Scientists now consider unpolluted night skies an endangered resource. Great Basin remains one of the last places in the continental United States where visitors can experience the cosmos as our ancestors did, before electric light erased the stars. These ancient sentinels measure time in millennia, but in New Mexico's high desert, another landscape measures time differently. In the 74 million years since dinosaurs last walked its alien terrain, there are no trails here, no signs, no visitor center, no rangers to offer directions. The Bisti wilderness covers 45,000 acres of New Mexico badlands that look more like the surface of Mars than anywhere on Earth. Visitors who enter must navigate by GPS, compass, and intuition alone. Those who get lost may wander for hours through a maze of hoodoos and washes with no landmarks to guide them home. The name comes from the Navajo language. Bisti means among the adobe formations. De-Na-Zin translates as standing crane, a reference to petroglyphs found in the southern reaches of this wilderness. "74 million years ago, this landscape looked nothing like it does today. An inland sea called the Western Interior Seaway covered much of North America. Where the Bisti Badlands now bake under desert sun, a river delta fed into that ancient ocean. Dinosaurs walked these shores. Giant reptiles hunted in the shallows. Then the sea retreated. The climate shifted. Layer upon layer of sediment buried the delta, and time, working with wind and water, began to sculpt. What emerged is a fantasy of strange rock formations. Hoodoos rise like mushrooms, their harder capstones protecting softer stone beneath from erosion. Petrified logs lie scattered across the landscape, their bark texture and growth rings still visible after 74 million years. Formations with names like the Alien Egg Hatchery, the King of Wings, and the Cracked Eggs draw photographers from around the world. In 1998, paleontologists excavated one of the most significant dinosaur discoveries ever made here. The Bisti beast represented an early relative of Tyrannosaurus rex. This 30-foot predator roamed these ancient shores 74 million years ago and has been found nowhere else on Earth. The De-Na-Zin portion of the wilderness exposes the Kirtland Formation, which contains one of the few places on Earth where the KT boundary layer is visibly accessible. This thin band of sediment marks the moment when an asteroid struck the Yucatan Peninsula and ended the age of dinosaurs. Bisti's alien landscape emerged from 74 million years of erosion, but in Nevada's high desert, an even more otherworldly terrain appeared almost overnight, the bed of an ancient lake that once held mammoths and saber-toothed cats. Stand on the black rock playa, and you can see the curvature of the Earth. This 200-square-mile flat expanse in northwestern Nevada represents the bed of Pleistocene Lake Lahontan, an ancient body of water that covered 8,665 square miles at its greatest extent. 13,000 years ago, its waters reached depths of 500 feet. Mammoths, camels, horses, and saber-toothed cats roamed its marshy shores. Then the Ice Age ended. The climate warmed. The lake evaporated. What remained was one of the flattest natural surfaces on the planet. The ancient silt of Lake Lahontan extends 10,000 feet into the earth beneath the playa. The surface itself is so flat and hard when dry that it has served as a natural racetrack. In 1997, British driver Andy Green set the world land speed record here at 763 miles per hour, the first vehicle to break the sound barrier on land. The Black Rock Desert High Rock Canyon National Conservation Area encompasses 800,000 acres of this basin and range country, including 10 designated wilderness areas. More than 120 miles of historic emigrant trails cross the region. Wagon ruts from the Applegate-Lassen Trail remain visible 175 years after pioneers carved them into the earth. In 1979, researchers discovered the largest mammoth ever found in North America here. The 17,000-year-old imperial mammoth stood 13 feet tall, weighed 13,000 pounds, and was approximately 50 years old at death. Its remains now reside in the Nevada State Museum. When rare rains fill the playa, something extraordinary happens. Fairy shrimp hatch from eggs that have lain dormant in the silt for years, sometimes decades. More than 250 species of migratory birds descend on the temporary waters. For brief weeks, the dead lake comes alive. The Black Rock Playa tells a story of vanished seas and Ice Age giants, but off California's coast, islands have been writing their own evolutionary story for millions of years, creating North America's own Galapagos. "18 million people live within 60 miles of Channel Islands National Park, yet it remains one of the least visited parks in the national park system. The reason is access. No bridge connects these 5 islands to the mainland. No cars can reach them. The only way to arrive is by boat or small aircraft, crossing the Santa Barbara Channel in a journey that can take several hours depending on weather and destination. That isolation has created something remarkable. Scientists call the Channel Islands the Galapagos of North America. The comparison is not exaggeration. Over 145 species of plants and animals exist here and nowhere else on Earth. Evolution has been working on these islands for millions of years, separated from the mainland by just enough water to prevent genetic mixing. The island fox stands as the most famous example. This diminutive canid weighs only 4 pounds, making it the smallest fox species in North America. 6 subspecies exist, one for each of the 6 islands they inhabit, each genetically distinct from the others. The island scrub jay lives only on Santa Cruz Island, nowhere else on the entire planet. It has evolved larger than its mainland cousin, with darker blue plumage and a distinctive call. Ornithologists consider it one of the most range-restricted birds in North America. In the 1990s, the island fox faced extinction. On Santa Rosa Island, the population crashed from 1,780 individuals to just 15. Golden eagles, which had moved in after DDT poisoning eliminated native bald eagles, were hunting the foxes to oblivion. The recovery effort became one of conservation's greatest success stories. Researchers captured and bred the remaining foxes. They removed feral pigs that had destroyed native vegetation. They relocated golden eagles and reintroduced bald eagles. By 2016, 3 subspecies had been removed from the endangered species list. Painted Cave on Santa Cruz Island stretches over 1,200 feet into the rock, making it one of the largest sea caves in the world. The oldest human remains found anywhere in North America may have come from these islands, dating back over 13,000 years. The Channel Islands evolved in isolation, protected by the sea. But deep in Texas, another wilderness evolved in isolation too, protected by distance, heat, and a desert so vast it deterred all but the most determined explorers. "300 miles from the nearest major city, where the Rio Grande makes its great turn south and back again, one of America's most remote national parks protects the largest expanse of Chihuahuan Desert in the United States. Big Bend National Park encompasses 800,000 acres of West Texas wilderness. It is the only national park in the country that contains an entire mountain range. The Chisos Mountains rise from the desert floor entirely within park boundaries, reaching heights of nearly 8,000 feet. The Rio Grande forms the park's southern boundary for 118 miles. Along this stretch, the river has carved 3 spectacular canyons through uplifted limestone. Santa Elena Canyon rises 1,500 feet on either side of the river, its walls so sheer they seem to lean together overhead. Mariscal and Boquilas canyons offer equally dramatic scenery for those willing to venture into the backcountry. Biologists have documented over 1,200 species of plants here. More than 450 species of birds have been recorded, more than in any other national park. 56 species of reptiles hunt through the scrub. Black bears have returned to the Chisos Mountains after decades of absence. Perhaps 150 mountain lion sightings occur each year, remarkable given that only about 2 dozen cougars call the park home. The park's darkness and silence allow wildlife encounters that would be impossible in more accessible wilderness areas. In 2012, Big Bend received designation as an International Dark Sky Park. The recognition acknowledged what visitors already knew. The night skies here rank among the darkest in North America. The Milky Way arches overhead with such brilliance that first-time visitors sometimes mistake it for clouds. Legends persist of lost Spanish silver mines hidden somewhere in the Chisos Mountains. According to local law, Spanish conquistadors enslaved Native Americans to work the mines, but the workers revolted, killed their captors, and sealed the shafts. The silver, if it exists, remains hidden. Big Bend guards its secrets with heat and distance. But in the desert just east of San Diego, another wilderness guards something ephemeral, a phenomenon that transforms barren sand into a carpet of impossible color. For most of the year, Anza-Borrego Desert State Park looks like what you would expect from Southern California's largest state park. Brown, dry, rocky, 600,000 acres of Sonoran and Colorado desert scribbland stretching east of San Diego toward the Salton Sea. Then, in certain years, everything changes. When winter rainfall arrives in sufficient quantity and with proper timing, something miraculous happens. Seeds that have lain dormant in the sandy soil for years, sometimes decades, suddenly germinate. Within weeks, the brown desert floor transforms into a carpet of purple, yellow, orange, and white wildflowers stretching to the horizon. These events, called superblooms, draw hundreds of thousands of visitors to witness the transformation. Desert sunflowers, sand verbena, dune evening primrose, and dozens of other species erupt simultaneously in displays that last only 4 to 6 weeks before the heat returns and the desert reclaims its brown anonymity. But Anza-Borrego offers more than occasional flower shows. Palm oases hide in sheltered canyons where underground water reaches the surface. Borrego Palm Canyon contains the largest native California fan palm oasis in the state. Slot canyons cut through the Badlands, their narrow walls polished smooth by flash floods over millennia. The Badlands, visible from Fonts Point, rival any in the American Southwest, eroded layers of ancient lake sediments, creating a maze of washes and ridges painted in shades of brown, gray, and red. Endangered peninsula bighorn sheep navigate the rocky slopes. Their population, once critically low, has stabilized thanks to conservation efforts, though encounters remain rare and treasured. The town of Borrego Springs, surrounded entirely by the state park, has achieved International Dark Sky Community status. Streetlights point downward. Businesses limit exterior lighting. The result is night sky visibility that rivals the most remote wilderness areas. Anza-Borrego's blooms arrive in a sudden riot of color, then vanish. But on the Arizona-Utah border, wind and water have spent 190 million years sculpting something permanent. Formations so perfect, they seem designed, not eroded. Some landscapes appear too perfect to be natural. The wave, hidden within the Paria Canyon Vermilion Cliffs wilderness, is one of them. Swirling bands of red, orange, yellow, and white sandstone flow across the formation like frozen liquid. The patterns follow curves so graceful they seem computer-generated. Photographers who visit sometimes struggle to convince viewers their images have not been digitally manipulated. The formation took 190 million years to create. During the Jurassic period, this region was a vast desert of sand dunes. Layer upon layer of sand accumulated, each carrying slightly different mineral content that would eventually determine its color. Over millions of years, the sand had lithified into stone. Then erosion began its slow work, carving through the layers to reveal the hidden patterns within. Only 64 people per day may visit the wave. The permit system, managed by the Bureau of Land Management, exists to protect formations so fragile that a single footstep can cause damage visible for years. Obtaining a permit requires entering a lottery held 4 months in advance or competing in a daily lottery available only to those physically present near the trailhead. During peak seasons, thousands of applications compete for those 64 daily slots. Some visitors apply for years before finally winning the chance to see the formation in person. The Coyote Buttes permit area where the wave resides covers just a small portion of the 112,500-acre Paria Canyon Vermilion Cliffs wilderness. Those unable to secure wave permits often explore alternatives that receive far less attention despite comparable beauty. Coyote Buttes South offers similar swirling sandstone formations with far less permit competition. White Pocket, accessible without permits via challenging four-wheel drive roads, displays brain-like rock patterns that seem equally impossible. The entire region preserves an ancient desert frozen in stone. Walking these formations is walking on sand dunes from the age of dinosaurs, their ripples and curves recorded in rock for anyone patient enough to find them. The wave exists because time moves slowly through stone, but our final destination proves that time can also move with startling speed. In southern New Mexico, a landscape exists where evolution happens fast enough for scientists to watch it unfold in real time. From space, it appears as a brilliant white scar on the brown face of the Chihuahuan Desert. On the ground, visitors often describe the sensation of walking on another planet entirely. White Sands National Park protects the largest gypsum dune field on Earth, 275 square miles of brilliant white sand, rolling in wave after wave toward distant purple mountains. The dunes reach heights of 60 feet, constantly shifting, constantly reshaping, driven by winds that have been sculpting this landscape for only about 10,000 years. That youth, in geological terms, makes White Sands extraordinary. Gypsum rarely forms sand dunes because it dissolves in water. In most environments, rain would wash it away to the sea, but the Tularosa Basin has no outlet. Water flows in from the surrounding mountains, dissolves gypsum from ancient lake beds, then evaporates in the desert heat, leaving the mineral behind to be broken down and blown into dunes. The result is a landscape unlike any other on Earth. and the life that inhabits it has responded with evolution so rapid that scientists use it as a living laboratory. Three species of lizards have evolved white coloration here: the bleached earless lizard, the little striped whiptail, and the eastern fence lizard, all arrived with the dark brown scales of their Chihuahuan desert ancestors. Within just a few thousand years, populations living on the white gypsum developed pale, almost ghostly coloration to match their surroundings. Researchers have traced the adaptation to mutations in a single gene. Evolution, observed in action. The Apache pocket mouse has undergone similar transformation. So have certain species of crickets and spiders. The white sands have become an island of adaptation, surrounded by dark desert that maintains the original coloration of each species. But white sands holds an even more remarkable secret. In 2021, researchers confirmed that human footprints discovered in the park date to between 21,000 and 23,000 years ago. These are the oldest confirmed human footprints in North America. They show children playing near the shore of an ancient lake, a woman carrying a toddler whose weight shifts her gait, hunters apparently stalking a giant ground sloth, their tracks following directly in the prints of their prey. These footprints predate by thousands of years what scientists long believed was the earliest human presence on the continent. They reveal that people walked this landscape alongside mammoths and giant sloths during the depths of the last ice age. The gypsum that preserved those ancient human tracks continues to shift beneath visitors' feet today. Unlike most desert sand, gypsum stays cool even under the blazing New Mexico sun. Children sled down the dunes on plastic discs. The park absorbs sound, creating an eerie silence that amplifies the wind. White Sands proves that the unseen West is not merely ancient. It is alive, still changing, still evolving, still revealing secrets we never imagined it held. We have traveled from the glaciers of Alaska to the gypsum dunes of New Mexico, from forests older than human civilization to islands evolving species found nowhere else on Earth, from ancient lake beds to impossible sandstone waves, from landscapes measured in billions of years to footprints pressed into mud just 23,000 years ago. These places survived ice ages and volcanic eruptions. They survived the extinction of the dinosaurs. They survived the retreat of ancient seas and the arrival of human beings on the North American continent. The question now is whether they will survive the next century. Climate change is accelerating the melt of North Cascades glaciers. Researchers predict many will vanish within decades. The bristlecone pines of Great Basin face threats from beetle infestations moving upslope as temperatures warm. Rising seas threaten the Channel Islands beaches, where elephant seals breed and foxes hunt. Yet there are reasons for hope. The Channel Islands fox, reduced to 15 individuals on one island, now numbers in the thousands. Big Ben's black bears returned after decades of absence. The permit system at the Wave, however frustrating to visitors hoping for spontaneous access, has preserved formations that unrestricted visitation would have destroyed within years. And at White Sands, ancient human footprints continue to reveal new chapters in the story of our species on this continent. These places remain unseen, largely because they are difficult to reach. That difficulty has protected them. The question for those who learn of their existence is whether to share the knowledge or guard the secret. Perhaps the answer lies in balance, in visiting responsibly, in supporting the wilderness designations and permit systems that limit access while preserving possibility, in understanding that some things are worth protecting precisely because they are not easy to experience. The unseen West is not unseen because people do not care. It is unseen because the modern world has made the seen so accessible that we have forgotten how to seek what is hidden. These landscapes will continue their slow transformation with or without human witnesses. Glaciers will melt or grow, badlands will erode, trees will add another ring to their millennia of growth, species will adapt or disappear, dunes will shift and reshape under endless wind. What changes is us. What changes is whether we choose to protect what remains wild in a world increasingly tamed. The unseen West waits. It has been waiting for millions of years. The only question is whether we will leave it waiting for millions more.